Hello, welcome to Sound and Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I am Tina. Today I'm doing a book review of The Odyssey of Fletcher by Eric Dargitz. This is a sci-fi post-apocalyptic book from October 2023 from Edderkoppen Press, which is self-published, I believe, but it looks as close to trad as you can get, honestly. Like, it's even got the logo. He did a really good job. I received this lovely arc from the author in exchange for a fair review. When I was working in acquisitions and publishing, this book came across my desk, actually. Unfortunately, it didn't suit the imprint, but I told him if it ever gets published, I'd want to read and review it. I keep my promises, okay? I'm nothing if not honorable, so here we go. And luckily, he remembered that and sent me a copy. A compelling, addictive, post-apocalyptic novel with satirical elements, The Odyssey of Fletcher is wholly entertaining for those who like their post-apocalyptic stories moving at a comfortable pace instead of at high octane. Mad Max Fury Road is like the highest of octanes, I'd argue. This one is more like Station 11, but without the I'm not sci-fi, I'm speculative fiction kind of literary snob aspects. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Station 11, so sue me. Who cares? I don't, whatever. Anyway, what is this book about? Whoa, it's small. After a global virus seemingly wipes out the entire male population, a skinny, socially awkward, self-conscious video game junkie is somehow still kicking, and he's wildly unprepared for this new world. Out there waiting for him are physicians who want to study him, occultist spiritual extremists who want to deify him, and brutal gangs with far more nefarious intentions. Throughout his journey, Fletcher does his best to act like a real man, being that he's the only one around. Unfortunately, this only leads to more problems for him and humanity. One thing I did not like about the graphic novel Y: The Last Man was that in a story where all the dudes are dead, a dude is still the main character. That annoyed me. This is also the case in this novel, but it's not annoying because it's a satire. While it is a realism-based novel, it's well balanced between its comedy and entertainment value. In a way, it reminds me of Cherry 2000, but a lot less weird. As I read it, Fletcher as the main character is a way to make a comment on the social pressures put on and the bullying of men, aka toxic masculinity, regarding everything from body shape to hobbies to sex to their sense of self-worth. Fletcher is a skinny, whiny, lazy, unhealthy brat of a young man, and I will admit he was kind of annoying, but I think that was the point. His problems, aside from the virus of course, come from his inability to take ownership for not only his mistakes, but his own low self-esteem, brought on by years of being teased. And he wasn't even teased in like the overly traumatic way, like in a Stephen King book. Just like kind of the regular type of bullying, which I think though makes his personality so well done. He could be almost any young man. Anyway, Fletcher is so worried about how others think of him, he doesn't stop to think about the person he wants to be. And then when he does obtain a little bit of power in his powerless life, he does what he thinks will bring him gratification. What the world had been selling to him as his greatest desire before the virus, only to find it falls flat. His goals of having his cake and eating it too, this entitlement that develops, is something I think we see in a lot of young men and young women in a different form today. And I think that was kind of the thing that the author was kind of trying to point out. Yet, in the same vein, Fletcher is also young. He's 20 or 22 when this story starts, so I think the novel would have been different had he been in his 30s or so. The fact that he is young and inexperienced in the world makes it a coming-of-age story as well. Fletcher is young enough that he learns from his mistakes. This is not the story of an asshole. It's the story of a young man who could have become one. The message is not didactic, though. In fact, this is just my take on it. I'm sure there are other interpretations. The author may not have even intended this to be the case. But the main gist of the story is Fletcher's life in the post-virus world. Now, I will say, I do think if all the men died in the world, it wouldn't be post-apocalyptic. If we put like office politics aside, women, at least from my experience, are collaborative. Most people actually, I think, are collaborative. I think we'd also be more than able to keep the lights running, so to speak, but this might also depend on where you live in the world and other disasters that crop up at the same time as the virus, which Dargitz does mention. As such, while I would like to think a woman-only world wouldn't be post-apocalyptic, at least not forever, the setting in the novel was realistic and understandable. In fact, the book does contain a post-apocalyptic trope that I love, which is small areas of civilization with different governmental styles and or purposes to their civilization. I'm not going to spoil them, though they are in the back, but I will say I wish the first place that he spends time in had a little less focus, and we saw a few more of the other societies that dot the landscape. The writing style is excellent. Aside from when it slows down a little bit a third of the way through, the pacing is great and the dialogue is snappy, the narrative voice is distinctive and easy to follow, and it's compulsively readable. I was never bored reading it. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was just very easy to digest and follow. A few things I was curious about but never got any answers. The main one was, where are all the kids? We don't see a single child the entire book, which I thought was a little odd. I mean, the virus was only a year or so in when the book starts, but there's no kids, like no girl children anywhere, which I was kind of like, oh, you think there'd be a lot of them. I also found there was one thing that I found that I was kind of like, and that's the homogenous way a group of 12 women acted. It felt a little bit reductive, but then again, we only see them from Fletcher's perspective. So I wonder if that was supposed to be how he viewed them. And then tied to this, how he also viewed his love interest as a not like the other girls type. That's the thing though, while I kind of got those impressions, I'm thinking that those impressions were intended to be part of the satire. So I'm not critiquing those. I just thought it was interesting because normally I would be like, "Oh my god, why is this girl like so perfect?" But then again, it's his perspective of her. It's actually quite masterful in the way that he conflates Fletcher's narrative voice with his perspective and how we're supposed to see the characters. And I think it's actually really, really well done. And I just wanted to kind of bring up those two examples to show that this is something that would have annoyed me in another book, but in this book, it kind of worked. I guess overall, this book just has a lot of layers, and it's a deft comment on society today and uses social collapse as its vehicle. And no, not one of these vehicles, more like, this one or this one. So thank you again to the author for the ARC copy. I think the cover is absolutely beautiful. I love the orange, which has a reference to something in the book that actually seems like it's of little importance, but becomes very important. Which, I mean, obviously the author knows what I'm talking about, and I think that the cover is very clever in that regard. I really enjoy this book, and I'm so happy you got to publish your book. So this book gets me another X on my trick-or-treat-a-thon bingo for the kidnapped prompt, as this book is set in a country where I do not live, and someone is kidnapped in it. So, I mean, it's Fletcher. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for watching, and if you get a chance to check out any post-apocalyptic book this year, I highly recommend this one. So yeah, thanks.